like, but I sincerely do not understand the enormous amount of hate.
I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is better than most Spider-Man.
Zack Snyder made me love Superman.
It was impossible not to notice how they made the prequels look like a stroke of misunderstood genius.
You see, recently I've noticed a pattern of some sorts, where movies that were once considered to be terrible films are now loved by most and seen as great films. I mean, you notice it all the time nowadays, where a film releases, is very widely hated, and then magically 10 years later becomes a beloved classic.
We already have a term for that. It's called a cult classic.
While yes, a cult classic is defined as a film that started off hated by most, but over the years built a very loyal community that loves the film. You see, these films have a very different story to their fame. Because unlike Fight Club, whose fame came from its later understanding of its deeper messages, well, these films don't really have any deeper messages. Matter of fact, these films don't have really anything to look back on or really like about them.
Well, if there's nothing good about these movies, then how come everybody loves them so much?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's what we need to figure out. So let's look at some similarities that these three films have to figure out and answer the question, what makes bad movies good now? Okay, so the first similarity is very easy to determine, which is that they were all hated at release. As you can very clearly see, most people were against these films on release, with some people even saying,
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son. I mean, how much more could you possibly...
It's the very definition
like I said in the
of
last
a
video,
train wreck. Almost every single aspect of this movie is complete.
I fucking hate the Star Wars prequels more than life itself.
The next pretty easy thing to prove is that they've all became loved by many. I mean, all these films have been showed way more love in recent years. I mean, come on, look at this.
The prequel trilogy is a tragic masterpiece.
I decided to focus on what I do like about the
Or
universe.
that you're wrong if it isn't. Film is subjective. You're allowed to like what you like, but I sincerely do not understand.
Like, how do we go from this
George Lucas raped our childhood. George Lucas raped our childhood. George Lucas raped our childhood.
to this?
The prequels tell a very compelling and cohesive story
in such a short amount of time. Like, what happened between point A and point B? And that brings us to my third similarity, which is
the sequels / remakes.
Okay, so as you can see, before the big mass attention and love for these films, there's a noticeable remake / sequel that happens that ends up replacing the original films. But why does this matter? Because no matter the quality of the replacement, there always seems to just be a massive uproar after its release, with people usually preferring, or at the very least, liking the older film more.
What does a movie's crappy remake have to do with anything? Just because the old one is better doesn't mean...
So yeah, like I was saying, all these movies have a sequel / remake that releases in between the original hatred and modern day praise. Hey, can you add that to the list for me?
Okay.
Okay, so we have a couple of similarities, but nothing quite concrete on why bad movies are considered good now. So I went back to the drawing board to see what else may have happened between point A and point B. And that's when I saw COVID-19. And that's when I noticed a major spike in love for these movies. First, everyone was cramped up in their homes with nothing better to do, which meant wasting more time on the internet and more time watching older films. While yes, all these films had their smaller fandoms, after COVID, people became chronically online, which meant people could spread their opinions, which made it so the smaller fans could spread their terrible opinions way faster. But that still doesn't answer my question. While yes, their opinions were spreading quick, I mean, I was still able to hate on these films. So why did so many people start agreeing with these horrible takes? And that's where we get to similarity number 5. When I was a kid, I used to love Johnny Test. It was a show I had seen so many times that I would have to put it on to help me fall asleep. But after a while, I did end up forgetting it ever existed. Until a remake series was announced. And it sucked. The show wasn't funny, the characters were annoying, and it was an overall spit in the face of the original Johnny Test. And then I rewatched the original show and realized they were pretty much the same thing. You see, just like everybody else, my nostalgia made me think Johnny Test was the greatest show ever made. But after I grew up and finally saw it for what it was, I realized something. I realized that nostalgia is the most powerful tool in all of human history. I mean, look, people have always said that the newer generation stuff sucked compared to theirs. Boomers did it for millennials, millennials did it for Gen Z, and now Gen Z's doing it for Gen Alpha. Nostalgia is a constant for all of us. Which, once again, brings me right back to reason number 5. I want you to notice how much time has passed from the movie's release and the movie's newfound love. It's about 10-ish years for each. Everybody has nostalgia for these films. That's why, no matter the quality, people still love them. So, adding time to our list of similarities, I think we can finally answer the question: why are bad movies good now? Well, taking a look at our similarities chart here, we can see that all these films start off hated, followed by some form of remake/sequel releasing, and a sense of nostalgia taking over, making people think their childhoods were better, which leads to a mass hate for the new thing and a newfound appreciation for the old, which all comes to a peak when COVID forces everybody inside where they can spread their terrible opinions online for everybody else to hear. Wait, so why are bad movies good now? Because of nostalgia, in simplest terms. Now, is there anything wrong with that? Not really. People can enjoy whatever they like. If you're a fan of the OG It, fine. If you want to suffer while watching that horror film, that's up to you. My issue really comes in when I see people saying all these movies are great and all these other movies are bad. Like, stop acting like all the love for Revenge of the Sith is anything more than nostalgia. So yeah. I guess with my question solved, I guess that's about it. So, see ya.